Welcome to Nostalgia Pilots, a G Gundam fan cast that was supposed to be dead. I'm Hugh.
I'm Jurd.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Spence.
And we're here to discuss Mobile Fighter G Gundam Episode 10, Terror, the Phantom Fighter Appears.
AKA Grandpa and Grandpa abused me to make me fight a dead guy.
I know this is supposed to be our sort of blood sport tournament fighter Mortal Kombat series compared to like our, previous war-based gritty Vietnam series. But this episode, more than anything, and Banks already mentioned this a little bit in the pre-show, just made me long for a spoopy giant robot haunting ghost zombie show.
Yeah, this is... we've had some outlandish moments in this show already, ranging from the fact that Domon is the worst boyfriend, not boyfriend ever, to two monks kidnapping someone just to make someone fight another person because they want to punish that person. But to have said monks want this child to fight a dead man, and then he is traumatized because he thinks he kills this guy when the guy was already dead. And they're like, it's okay, fight him again. Like, holy cow.
Well, my thing with this episode is that this is the far future. Everyone's piloting giant robots and living in space. And no one's at every point that's ever like, ghosts aren't real. Everyone is 100% on board with this. Yes, a ghost is piloting this giant robot, and you have to fight the ghost robot. Just fight the ghost robot, Shinji.
So essentially, this entire episode is a Camp Ghost story, and it starts with a Camp Ghost story. We see this great Pharaoh-like Gundam in a tube with 3 pilots around it, and they are talking about the ghost of Dahal, and they say he rises with every sandstorm, just like tonight.
But wait, not only he rises, his Gundam also rises. And what is the name of that Gundam?
So in the dub, it is the Mummy Gundam the 4th.
Oh my god, I love it so much. Mummy Gundam the 4th. What are we even talking about?
And in the sub, it is Pharaoh Gundam the 4th. And I like Pharaoh Gundam a lot better. Let's give these kings of old the respect they deserve. They had a huge parade and like whole ceremony to put all these pharaohs to rest in Egypt, like not even a month ago. So
question, right? We all know a little bit about Egyptian history, so we know that like a lot of the attendants and servants and pets, cats and things of the pharaoh were mummified and entombed with them.
Mm-hmm.
So did they have Gundams too? Did they?
Well, there's so many questions. You can't even begin to scratch the surface here because this is another one of those episodes where they open with Earth is in a terrible condition, even though every episode it looks pretty fine, and then they even have to go to their way and be like, but Egypt is still pretty good, actually. And you're like, oh, okay, why are we like, okay, that's fine. And then, did they build a tomb specifically for the Gundam pilot? Because that seems like a fairly large-scale, civil project.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so wait, so in Egypt, the rain counterpart would have to be entombed with Domon if he died?
I guess so.
Well, see, here's the thing is that, we know that Egypt, Neo-Egypt leans pretty hard into this revival, but we don't know how far, because this pilot's name is still Dahal Muhammad, so presumably he's still Muslim.
Yeah, that's also a good point, yeah.
Well, he doesn't have to be. He could be Egyptian and just the name is passed down, and so he may follow a polytheistic religion that has reincarnation. So that's a possibility.
Yeah,
the name is just regionally appropriate.
And I like the idea that he's basically like, what would be the modern equivalent? Like that teenager who gets super into Wicca to piss off their parents. Like, his parents are Muslim, but he's just gotten super hardcore into Egyptology to be like, no, screw you, Mom and Dad. I worship Anubis.
and I'm gonna be a Gundam pilot. Like,
You have to build
Wait. What did you just call that, Dodd? What did you call that, Dodd?
I don't know. I pulled something out of my butt.
Anubis. Anubis, not Anusbis or whatever.
Yeah.
you
Sorry,
just
I'm
said.
not an emo goth Egyptologist.
but to be fair, to be the emo goth kid, it was correct. Like, it was.
Yeah, fair.
As the resident emo goth kid, I take exception to this stereotype.
Like this, it's so crazy to me that in a world of ridiculous science, all of a sudden supernatural science magic exists.
Okay, well, yes, and I mean, the big reveal here is that this Gundam kind of exhibits the flesh repair aspect of, what was it again? The Devil Gundam? The Demon Gundam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how we get our zombies here, is that it's essentially hand wavy, science is magic, nanite repair business, but I'll buy it for a kid's show that murders like 5 guys in the opening scene.
So basically, the opening scene is the appearance of the mummy, and then, intro. And then you see a wreckage in daylight of a Gundam, and Domon and Rain show up, and they're like, oh my god, and there's somebody alive, and Domon says, Rain, there's somebody alive, come help. And she runs the other way.
Do your medic thing. I'll be back.
So I think she's probably getting a medic kick, but she's too late. The guy dies.
But not before telling them that, Dahal is back from the dead.
What I love though is Rain's eyes in this episode. She has the keenest eyes ever.
Yeah,
She's
it's
like,
true.
it's like, Domon, in that sandstorm, there's a Gundam fight. What? Like, how did you see that? It doesn't.
She's part elf. That's what it is.
She's got the sort of omens.
I just keep thinking back to Hugh's earlier points about how Walmart was trying to push this through for like sales. And this episode is fairly dark. Like, there's a bunch of murders that happen right off the top. And I don't think that's something you could get away with. And I'm looking at this as a, modern, through the lens of modern parenting. Like, that's not something you could get away with in 2021.
No. So anyway, so they see this sandstorm, and there is a fight going on between the Dragon Gundam with, I think he's 10 years old, Sai Saichi, of the Shaolin Temple, and the Mummy Gundam. One thing that the animators and writers did really well was Sai Saichi's reaction to apparently having killed whoever was in the cockpit. The shock and the emotional fear of that action is beautifully portrayed. It feels, you actually feel for Sai Saichi, just like this shock of, I just killed somebody. I am a child. I am not emotionally developed enough to deal with this. And they carry that through most of the episode, which is wonderful. So, the circumstances are not wonderful, but the way it's done is well done.
Yes, in this episode, Sai Saichi is very much a child who's been thrust into something that he is not ready for, and pretty much everyone in this episode's like, "You're the heir of the Shaolin Temple. You should be ready for this." He is like 10. Cut him some slack.
Yeah, I did buy into the relationship more, the weird dad-parent relationship between the couple of monks and Saichi this episode, quite a bit more than in their previous appearance.
It's
and they
Saichi.
I know. Leave me alone. You're just going to murder me.
Else.
Okay, I know.
Saichi.
No, Saichi,
What? Nobody else say his name.
Sai Saichi. It's a lot of S's. Or T's in this case, I guess. But they do not care at all that this child thinks he's a murderer. Like, he is literally he goes to Domon and he's like, big bro, I killed the dude. And Domon's like, meh, it's fine.
It's just an undead Gundam. It's fine.
Get used to it.
Yeah, like, it is, like, I was hoping Rain would, like, hug this kid. Like, I was like, Rain.
Well, there was... Okay, so Sai Saichi did get some love from the monks when he turned around to, hey, that was right, man. That was as close as I'm gonna get.
What was it? No, it wasn't.
Sai Saichi.
Sai
Saichi.
Saichi.
Sai Whatever, man. Okay.
I love you guys.
Fine.
I'm just gonna call him Sai. So
Sai.
Sai, there is a point when it looks like he's totally frozen up, and the monks do beg Domon to get in there and actually assist him because it's not a tournament fight or tournament sanctioned fight. So there is some, feeling for the fact that he's a kid and he's, suffering.
And Domon does later give him his cloak.
Yeah. So basically they do a little more research and they find the tomb of Dahal. And Sai Saichi, Domon and Rain go inside, and you get the feeling that because Sai Saichi has only had the monks as relationship things, that he's really attaching a big brother and big sister role to Domon and Rain. And he even calls them both bro and sis throughout the episode. And he's really scared. Like, this ghost story is coming true for him, and now he's got to go to this tomb. And when Domon opens the sarcophagus, it's empty.
It's empty beneath a giant, terrifying picture of this dude in life.
It reminds me, I don't know, have you guys seen this? The remake of The Haunting with with Catherine Zeta-Jones in it?
Yeah, and Liam Neeson and all that. Yeah. Yeah,
because there's that giant ghost painting at the top of the stairs. And I'm just like, and it's just this scene in this anime.
This whole thing feels very Dracula. Like, they're going to the tomb in daylight. Like, they're gonna burn his corpse for sportsmanship or something.
I actually have a note in here that with the red cape getting tossed around, it really, and the tomb, it really reminds me of Castlevania.
And again, yes, I agree. Rain should be your big sister because Rain understands and empathizes with people. Domon does not, because after they go to the tomb, the Dahal rises again, and they make Sai Saichi fight him again.
And that before Rain throws a grenade at it.
Yes, that's true.
She has everything in her purse.
Yeah, grenade. Like, she literally pulls a grenade out of her purse.
It's great. It's freaking great.
She's Q. She's just Q from.
Well, yeah, like on horseback, riding side saddle with Sai Saichi in front of her. She's doing internet searches on her laptop or whatever, and I'm like, dude, what kind of sat phone do you have that you get internet access in the middle of the desert?
It's sort of shown in the middle of the desert, but really the pyramids and all that stuff, they're very close to modern day Cairo. Yeah. They took a camel from the Starbucks.
But yeah, they're doing research and whatnot. But they think that the grenade has gotten rid of the mummy, and then all of a sudden, after they're sleeping in camp, Sai Saichi gets up to go to the bathroom. He's like, I gotta pee. Carrying Domon's cloak like a security blanket, I will add. And as he's getting ready, there's the mummy right in front of him, and I'm going, you were just warned not to wait any. You shouldn't, and I bet you have ignored that because I would have let myself.
It's almost like, again, this is Gundam Fight the horror movie because there's horror tropes all over this thing. Like, he gets up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and wanders off by himself and comes across the undead menace. Like, the only thing, and to be fair, he's a person of color. So, like, at this point,
everyone's a person of color in this episode.
Yeah, like, don't die, I guess? Because, like, you can't die first. Like, you have to have some sort of comeuppance in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just, and like, the only competent one is still Rain. Because she was like, I'm just going to blow this thing up with a grenade. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't she also the one who Googled? So
Yes.
Sai
Yeah.
does. Yeah, Sai gets in a fight with the Gundam, and he's essentially trying to. Well, actually, he doesn't really get in a fight with the Gundam. The Gundam comes at him, and he does go into Gundam mode, but he sort of freezes up and reacts like a 10-year-old would in the face of a zombie giant robot. At which point, I guess Rain decides to Google WTF is going on or whatever, and discovers the secret history of Mummy Gundam the Fourth.
Like, the secret, very public history.
yes.
The secret, you should probably know this about your grandfather history.
Yeah, that his grandfather was the first to defeat him. And
Yeah, so,
and then
Dahal died
because
fighting Sai
they-
Saichi's grandfather in, I guess, the first Dragon Gundam? Like,
Yeah,
in
they
the
said it
third
was-
Gundam fight.
Yeah,
or,
they
like, the fourth Gundam fight.
They said he defeated him honorably, but there was a malfunction and the cockpit blew up. And so I guess Dahal's ghost mummy zombie is out for revenge against the line of Dragon Gundam pilots.
Who just happened to show up in Egypt at the time when he started rampaging. So convenient.
Well, they're like, his need to fight has brought him back from the grave.
No, I'm pretty sure Domon's brother desiccated a corpse.
Yeah.
Desecrated a corpse with nanotechnology.
Well, the mummy was already desiccated.
Yeah,
So-
Yes.
So Sai Saichi fights and wins a fight with the Mummy Gundam, and is like, rest in peace. And Domon is like, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything until a snake arm of the Mummy Gundam comes out of the sand and reaches for Sai Saichi's arm. And yeah. Then Domon's like, it's the Demon Gundam! And eyes go red, and he goes like, if there were a Hulk mode, he goes Hulk mode.
Yeah, I do like how they show the transformation of the infected Gundams. It's kind of like a weird hazy effect they put onto the image, and then it slowly starts regenerating and getting back to where it was. And Domon goes Super Saiyan Hulkman, because this is
And they
one of-
show that by putting red in his eyes.
yeah, and his normal golden glow inside the cockpit is actually more reddish and pinkish, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also where you get the line, the titular line of where he tells him to take all his anger, love, and sorrow again, right? Like,
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Take this on my anger, my hate, take all my. Well, hold on. My anger, my hate, and all of my sorrow. And he does the sword motions in the cockpit, which forces again. I love the way they pilot these things because it's basically Neon Genesis Evangelion before, or maybe after. I can't remember if this came first or not.
Just before.
Yeah. And so he summons a giant beaming sword and kills the thing, which I think is funny because if any of you have ever seen the first 2 seasons of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, he just kills this thing with the burning ripple hand, which is just a sunlight fist.
Pretty much. But, well, this is the reveal that we get, like, the reason that the Shining Gundam does that, or the Burning Gundam does that, is that it is, like, the counter effect to the Devil Gundam's, like, regeneration abilities.
Yes.
So, like,
Right.
the Dragon Gundam can't actually kill, like, destroy the Pharaoh Gundam. So after the fight, that's why Domon has to use his, like, Super Saiyan abilities to destroy it.
kill it with
Yep.
fire.
And Rain has an emotional moment because, you know, the comeuppance of their mission is now right in the forefront, and she's getting emotional that her friend Domon is going to have to fight and kill his brother.
And to be fair, she was friends with the brother too. Like she knew the whole family through her father and their relationships, which is why she's Domon's mechanic. Like,
Oh, actually, that reminds me. So this is the first time we've seen him go Super Saiyan, except for the hallucination, right? Like we did see it
Yeah.
during the hallucination
Right.
period.
That's accurate.
All right.
So and that's a good callback, Jurd, because that means that what they wanted to achieve with the hallucinations to see how far they could push him and see how far they could get his combat abilities to increase has worked, because now he's able to utilize that ability outside of the hallucination, albeit still in the face of his brother's machinations. But that means he has that combat potentiality now, like, which is pretty cool. Because again, I like transformations. This just means this is a new model kit. It's cool. Although I don't like the color palette. I don't like the color palette.
I want to note that I totally dig it. I did want to note that the line was "my love, my anger, and all my sorrow," because I wrote it down because it's also my favorite My Chemical Romance album. So,
is it really?
No.
Like, I was like, if they pulled that, and then you were like, "Is this an early Blink-182?" It would have been an amazing coincidence. Oh man, do we get any like titular lines to end this, or did they kind of end with like the whole like Rain standing there watching and Domon standing victorious?
It's very, your opponent is your own brother.
But he's your brother, yeah.
He's your brother. Our battle is just beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, I feel more sorry for Rain in this. Like, I understand why you'd kind of empathize with Domon, but Domon has the ability to fight and counteract his brother's actions. Whereas all Rain can do is make sure Domon doesn't get himself killed before. Like, she can patch him up and fix the Gundam, but her actual ability to fight and aid him when he could be overwhelmed, because obviously this shows you that this, like, he can't burning Gundam 1,000 things. Like, he could be overwhelmed by this thing. And if it has the ability to, resurrect these other fallen machines and make it into its little army, as we saw in the hallucination, Domon's in trouble. Like,
yeah, well, all my sympathy this episode really goes to Sai, who's like a 10-year-old thrown into a situation he could never possibly win. Like, he literally could not have won that situation without the intervention, so.
Yeah, and again, the guy was already dead, but because of the way the whole thing works out, like, it just, to him, a 10-year-old kid looks like he just murdered a guy. And then everyone keeps telling him, no, you're fine. Just murder him again. Just keep murdering him until you get good at it or get over it. Like, come on.
And this is how the generation of Wing Gundam, the first episode that we were watching, or the first series that we were watching, that's how you get the child soldiers.
Yeah, this is actually the first time that's kind of addressed in this.
4 to 6 years before Hero steps up.
Yeah, pretty much.
They should have gave Sai Saichi a wrench.
So the question is, how many mummies has Hero killed?
Probably not more than Ketra, because Ketra lives in that area.
That is true. That is very true.
But I feel like Ketra would want, like, to sit down with the mummies and, like, hear their perspective and sort of, like, reach an understanding with them. That, like,
he probably tried it, but since they are not, since they are very viscerally motivated, he would not have been able to reason with them. Did we get to the end? Are we on favorite parts now?
Yeah, I think we're at favorite moments.
I think we're on favorite moments.
I know mine.
What's yours, Spence?
So when they're in camp, there is a little tent over the monks and Sai Saichi, and it's being held by the Dragon Gundam, and that is my favorite thing. Because the hand is just holding the tent over them, and I'm just like, it's perfect.
I mean, like,
it was a great shot, yeah.
Yeah. And see, for me though, I think my favorite scene is the fact that we do get a bit of compassion from Domon when he gives Sai Saichi his cloak. Like, it is a small, undialogued, undrawn scene, but he does have Domon's cloak, which is surprising. You would not, although in reality, it was like Rain like taking it from Domon and giving it to him, but we can attribute it.
Yeah,
Give him the cloak.
Rain just
give
like
him the
snuck
cloak.
in there while Domon was asleep and just like, here, kid. He wanted you to have this. It's gonna be okay.
Don't pee on it.
And then he pees on it.
Ew.
Oh, come on. Like, someone has a duffel bag full of those things. He'll just pull out another.
Yeah.
We'll burn it. It's fine.
As much as he gets shot at, like, yeah, he definitely has a lot of those. So how about
My favorite part was definitely Rain riding side saddle in her miniskirt on a camel through the desert with her like 486 laptop just plinking away like at MapQuest. Like, here's where the tomb is.
her Google foo is strong?
She can get the Wi-Fi from the Pizza Hut across the way, so
The halal Pizza Hut. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like 'cause you gotta know that this like huge tomb that they just built has to be like a huge tourist attraction. So like, that mummy has like killed a dozen people by now.
Again, this planet really does not seem all that terrible to live on in most general conditions. Anyway.
Although I still respect them for building traps, like murderous traps in this this tomb that they built like 20 years ago.
Traditions.
Authenticity, man.
Yeah, so my favorite thing about this episode was a bit more pervasive. It was just sort of the general horror vibe. I could have done with more of it. I like spoopy giant robots. It's not a mix I thought I would be looking for going in, but I totally felt it. Hugh nailed it earlier when he said it had weird Dracula vibes. Like, yeah, I want to see that. I want Dracula and a giant Gundam. Let's do this.
What's Neo Transylvania bringing to this fight?
Oh man.
Then they have the Impaler Gundam.
Yes, the Vlad Gundam.
And it's gotta have Vlad's helmet.
It's so funny you guys mentioned this because we just did a Nutty Bites episode about a movie from 2012 called Vamps. And Ian McDowell plays Vlad the Impaler, who has gone cold turkey off impaling people, so he has to find other hobbies. So he's taken up knitting. And
That's perfect.
And also as a chef who makes candy apples.
Dude, so there's impaling.
It's amazing. It's, by the way, it's a gym. If you've not seen it, go find it. It's a delightful gym. Kristen Ritter's in it. Spider walking down walls. If you've seen the movie The Guest, the titular guest is in the movie. A young version of him is in this movie. It's a good time. I'm glad you guys brought that up. It brought good memories because next week, we're almost there, guys.
Yeah, what's next week's episode?
Next week we are off to Neo Turkey for G Gundam episode 11, Reunion in the Falling Rain.
I'm reaching into my mind for stereotypes to try to cast aspersions here. I'm thinking like Fezzes?
Fezzes, maybe. But
Lucas?
also what was the name of the title again?
Reunion in the Falling Rain.
So Rain's gonna fall down. Or she's gonna fall in love with somebody. Hopefully George, because George is great.
Listen, I don't care what happens in this next episode. Because the arrival of Master Asia is on its way.
Soon.
And I am so pumped.
You are such a fanboy for
No
Master
spoilers.
Asia. I'm gonna send him fan mail on your behalf.
Got an immaculate mustache, okay?
So until next week, you can find all of our links and show notes over at nostalgiapilots.com. You can follow us on Twitter at nostalgiapilots. Follow everything I do at hughjodonnell.com.
You can follow everything I do over at Skinner.fm.
You can follow everything I do at nerdswithvoices.com.
And I'm over at resonantmoon.com.
So until next week, don't wet yourself.